Usually on Fridays we have Mindshift Friday, but today we have something special just for you. So you need to pay attention, because what we're about to talk about will change your life, especially if you are a businessman. This is one conversation that could be a turnaround moment for you and your business and how you conduct business. This morning we get to host Nehemiah Project Global. We are going global this morning, and I've got two amazing gentlemen who are joining me in studio via Zoom. First and foremost, we have Frank Kitonga. Frank Kitonga is the country director, Nehemiah Project Kenya. Frank, how are you doing?
Very good, sir, and good morning to you.
Good morning to you too. You look so bright today. I love the colors.
I was coming to meet you, and I knew you'll have colors as well, Jemo. So.
Great. Karibu sana, good to have you. We also have Patrice Tsague. Patrice Tsague is the Chief Servant Officer, Nehemiah Project Global. He's also a business trainer. He is a coach. He's a preacher. He's an author. He's an international speaker. How are you doing, Patrice?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, you have such a long line of titles. You're doing so much.
Well, the curse of the calling.
Okay. I notice it says Chief Servant Officer. Why Chief Servant Officer?
Well, it would be similar to a CEO, but when I began my journey, especially after I became a Christian and felt the calling to be a servant leader and as an entrepreneur, I felt that, and also developing biblical entrepreneurship, I really felt that I needed to, in my title, demonstrate a different paradigm shift from the traditional CEO title to lead with service, as Jesus, taught us in Scripture, that those who desire to be first shall be last, and that we are first called to serve.
I like that. So let's begin by understanding what the Nehemiah Project is. For somebody who's never interacted or heard of the Nehemiah Project Global, what is it all about? What do you guys do?
Yes, our mission statement is very simple, to build kingdom businesses globally. We define a kingdom business as a transformational enterprise or company that goes beyond the triple bottom line to include an eternal bottom line. Many of your listeners are familiar with the idea of a triple bottom line, the fact that companies go beyond just being profitable, they impact people as well as the planet. But we believe that as kingdom entrepreneurs, that there's another bottom line that is critical, that is even more important than the other three, which is the eternity. The fact that the Scripture is clear: what would a man gain if he gains the whole world or profit and loses their soul? And so it's one thing to impact people, your employees, your customers, your suppliers, and it's one thing to impact the planet, being a positive effect in your community, being kind to animals, and as well as being restored to the earth. It's one thing to be profitable, which is important, because without profit, you cannot impact people, nor can you impact planet. But all that matters none if people are going to hell. All that matters none if we're not mindful of eternity. And so we believe as Nehemiah Project that eternity is at a balance, that we want to make sure that while we impact the employees, our customers, our vendors, that we are also being great witnesses for them in the name of Jesus Christ, that we've taken opportunities to be able to present to them the opportunity for eternity, that as we impact on the planet, that we are mindful who the owner of the planet is, that is not Mother Earth, it's not some kind of mystical being out there, but that there is a God, and that his name is Jesus Christ, and that he created the heavens and the earth, and we are stewards of that earth, and we steward the earth as a responsibility of that stewardship. And as we profit, that we're mindful that profit is more than just making money at all costs. That we have to be profitable in such a way that we don't do harm, that we provide value to our customers, and that we do not engage into activities that are unethical, that are illegal, that there is such thing as biblical profit or honorable profit. So that's essentially what we are all about.
Wow. I love that, because the hour before this, I usually have what I call the devotional hour. And this whole week, we've been talking about the biblical perspective of time and eternity. And one of the things we talked about is looking at your work as worship. And so I love the fact that you're bringing in the whole aspect of, your business. It's not just about making money. It's about transforming lives. It's about transforming communities. I love that. I'm wondering, Frank, Nehemiah Project Kenya, when was it set up? What are some of the things you've been able to do in the country?
Thanks, Jimo. We've been now running for about 3 years. Apparently, Nehemiah was here actually before.
Oh.
And then we kind of relaunched it about 3 years ago. So now we've been running for about 3 years, right through Corona. Corona was actually a very amazing year for us. We grew significantly during Corona. Yeah. Although we closed our physical office and went completely digital, we've now probably taken people through biblical entrepreneurship. About 100 people have graduated through the program, and we have other programs, Identity and Destiny, maybe another 50, 60 people. So we've been growing bit by bit and really seeing amazing impact. In fact, you had a guest once here you were interviewing who told you that she's doing biblical entrepreneurship.
Yes.
I think that was Rena Hicks.
Yes.
And I started getting all kinds of calls. Thank you, man, for that mention. That really helped our business as well.
Awesome. I love that. I know today and tomorrow you've got something special happening at Movenpick in Westlands, and you'll be talking about, building a lasting legacy. And I know you'll also be talking about, to couples. I want to begin with the couples, Patrice, because I believe that you can't build a lasting legacy if things at home are not stable and if things at home are not working. My pastor used to tell me, if it doesn't work at home, don't export it. Leave it where it is, don't export it. So I'm just wondering, how do couples build, because you have a marriage to build and a family to raise up, and at the same time you have a business, and sometimes you focus too much on one, the other suffers. How do you build a marriage and a business at the same time, Patrice?
Good question. It is a clear tension between the institution of marriage and the institution of business. And that tension is derived by the fact that both need each other, right? Without, oftentimes, as a husband, if you're not providing for your family, that creates a problem. The woman needs that security. At the same time, the very thing that provides that security tend to pull you away from her. She wants that intimacy, right? So you have that tension between security and intimacy. The Bible says that with God all things are possible. So there is a way to do it. And so the approach is to first keep first things first, right? So the first thing obviously is the Lord, but before business is family, is my wife, is my children. And somehow magically something, the latter happened, which is the business. But the key, though, approaching business in a way that aligns is that my wife sees herself or my husband as a partner with me in the business. We believe not in work-life balance, but in work-life alignment or integration. So the idea is that if my family sees the business as an extension of our family ministry, as an extension of our call, that is not just me going out to hunt, right, and bringing home the bacon, as we like to say in America, and somehow that's my contribution, and that was my thing, so that I can serve you guys. And by the way, it's not I do that. That's my role. No, it's not that. It's that as I go out there, I'm being sent out by my family as a missionary to the marketplace. And this is our family business. And then just as when I come home, right, I am working, my wife and I are both doing home ministry, so seeing that as an integrated effort, that alignment helps, and it minimizes the tension, and it creates an environment for conversation that is helpful and sustainable and fulfilling for the family.
Wow. One of the things we've talked about also this week in the morning devotion has been how we compartmentalize our lives. You have one compartment here. This is my spiritual life. This is my business. This is my family. And I'm just wondering, in your interactions, Frank, with the people you've been training, maybe the couples you've worked with, do you see this as one of the problems they have, and how do they deal with that? So that, just like Patrice has said, you see it as an extension. You know, in fact, I love he said, he talked about business as being ministry, which I find very interesting because many of us don't look at it that way. So Frank, how do you handle that?
So thank you very much. It's as a coach, as a business coach. In fact, I'm not a family coach. I'm a business coach. Patrice, I think we spend 50% of our time in our coaching sorting family issues first.
Oh,
because sometimes even more.
Yeah.
Sometimes even more. We have to fix the family to fix the business. In fact, sometimes you say, oh, we want to grow sales, and then you start going, you say, okay, so what's the problem with the sales? Or how come you're not getting enough time? Oh, my wife needs me. Oh, so what's going on at home? Oh, she's crazy. And then suddenly you hit something and you're like, okay, so let's solve that problem.
Yeah.
What is it that's causing this? I can tell you, Jemo, we spend so much time on the family by default.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have our own families to fix. And so my point, first of all, here is to state business doesn't really work outside family. You can say, I can compartmentalize, but what happens is you just, especially if you're a Christian, because it's a spiritual experience at home, a spiritual experience with your friends, it's a spiritual experience in the business. And all that, you find that it's all mixed in there. You can't really say, I can remove them. So this pyramid that you create becomes therefore very good, that I have a journey with God.
Yeah.
I have a journey with my family, with my wife. Then I have my business. And then you start saying, okay, together we do X, Y, Z. Maybe we so this pyramid that you create becomes the key to fix how you run. But it's not, it's one thing. It may have segmentations, halfway, but you just have to work at it together.
Okay. Patrice, I know you've been married for, is it 26 years?
Yes, I've been married for 26 years. That's
yes.
Good. Happily married, thank God.
Happily married to one wife for 26 years.
One wife.
Yes, and you've been in business for about 24 years.
Who is a woman? I think we are clarifying.
Nowadays, you have to clarify everything. Man, it's a crazy world we live in. But Jesus is still Lord.
American.
Yeah. So, Patrice, I'm just wondering, in your 26 years of marriage, 24 years doing business, what would you say are some of the greatest lessons you've learned when you look at, doing business as a family?
My wife has a gift that is different than mine. My wife is I'm an eternal optimist. My wife, she likes to clarify. She likes to question.
Yes.
She's cautious. Seeing as a gift. When we began our journey, I didn't see it as a gift.
Ooh.
I saw it as a nuisance. I saw it as a lack of faith. I saw it as being negative. So I had to learn that that's a gift. That's a gift that's designed to slow me down, cause me to pay attention. That is designed to empower and not disempower. And then I had to then learn, okay, if that's a gift, how do I tap into it?
Yes.
Right. So that's one great lesson. The other one for me has been that, my wife may not know business the way I know it. At least I like to think. So in other words, I may be wiser in the function of business than maybe she is. I may have more knowledge broadly than she does. But once in a while, God speaks to her and about things she can't even explain intellectually.
Wow.
But I cannot dismiss it because she cannot defend it intellectually. And I dismiss it to my own peril. And Jim, it has saved our business. It has saved our family multiple times. So learning to hear that, learning to listen to that, learning to discern that, that's been a great asset. And the other piece is seeing her as a full partner. And honoring her publicly and private as a full partner. Marriage and business can be tough.
Yeah. And
so oftentimes that brings a lot of pressure on both sides. I'm sure she was here. She'll talk about challenges, with me. But, being partners, and it's not a contractual kind of partnership, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a covenant kind of partnership.
Yes.
That's the difference between the other partnership. You can break, you can transition out of. There's always an exit strategy. This one has no exit strategy. Death probably is the exit strategy.
Yes.
Right? So as a result of that, it can be viewed as a prison,
Mm-hmm.
as a death sentence or a life sentence. It all
Wow.
depends on how you approach it. And that's been our greatest asset and gift. And as a result of that, she's been able to add lots of value. I would not be here if it was not for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's been able to compliment me in the ways that no one else can. The other thing also, Jim, is that the curse of comparison.
Yes.
Right. So many times, we, particularly as businessmen, as we grow and develop, we start out as nothing, right? And then that woman believes in us, and then she helps us to become something. And all of a sudden, we start drawing more attention than we ever did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I always tell women, I said, you know what? Married men always look very attractive. Right.
Yes.
But because somebody helped them become as they are.
Very true.
And they forget that the only reason they look so good is because they're married. Outside of that, and so as a result, there's a sense of, particularly in the marketplace, right? So as a driven man, you tend to admire, other driven women. And so as a result, you start comparing to your wife. And you start comparing because you want to conquer, and you want that, and you forget the fact that you can't have both.
Yeah.
Right. You can't have, and so from that vantage point, that complementariness that your wife gives you is what you need, not the competitiveness that other person's, because that's what it is. It's like, as men, we like men that flow with us. We also have the same thing about women, in the marketplace. We kind of say, I said, man, you are like a dude, man, we can hang. And so recognizing that it's a different complementary nature.
Yeah.
That does not take the place
of
that complementary nature that you have in your that partnership.
Great.
And you compromise at your own peril.
Wow. Okay, shortly we'll talk about lasting legacies and how do you build that and why that is important. I was just thinking, Frank, for some of us, the only legacy we leave is a blue one. If you know what I mean. That makes a lot of noise when you leave in the morning, but that's not the legacy we're talking about today. This morning, we are hanging out with Nehemiah Project Global. If you have any questions for my two guests today, feel free to send them in right now. 20316 is the SMS line. WhatsApp number is 0786 316 316. We are hanging out with Nehemiah Project Global. We have the Chief Servant Officer, Patrice, Tsague, and also we have Country Director, Nehemiah Project Kenya, Frank Kitonga, who is with us today. Thank you so much. Your questions, 20316, WhatsApp 0786 316 316. Patrice, back to you. When we talk about building a lasting legacy, what exactly is that?
Well, essentially, as you know, that, just living and making a living is not what we call to do as Christians. What we call to do is live in such a way that which we contribute to, that which we build, including the values that we establish, is able to remain and preserve beyond our lifetime.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we talk about legacy, we're talking about the values that you develop, the lifestyle you live, and the things you build, i.e. your business or your organization.
Yes.
So building a lasting legacy for us means that being very intentional as you build your organization and business in such a way that both the assets and the values are able to be sustained and remain beyond your lifetime, up to 3 generations. So in other words, you built it, a righteous man leaves an inheritance, not for his children, but for his children's children. A 3-generational approach to living and building companies.
I'm just thinking about that, Frank, and I'm thinking one of the attitudes I've seen, and sometimes I had a lot of this from our father's generation, is, they were able to build something, maybe build a business, And it's like they don't want to bring you on. They say you go out there and get your own. It's like they don't want to set a foundation from which you can build on. I don't know if that is something you experience as you train different people and talk to different people. And looking at it from the perspective of being a Christian and looking at our businesses as ministries, you know, to bring about transformation, what would you say concerning that?
Yeah, thanks, Jemo. First of all, we've experienced both sides.
Okay.
What we actually tend to experience more is where the father is trying to bring the next generation to be involved. That actually is the bigger problem than, but we do have scenarios where our father says, this is the mainstream for the family. We want you to go. We will support you, but go and start something else on the side. And they help and support, and so that the family doesn't look into one thing. But obviously, if there's irresponsibility, a father is not quickly to release that to the next generation. But I can tell you the bigger problem is being the next generation wanting or willing to take over the job of running. That's actually is far bigger. And you actually ask yourself why? Why isn't the next generation even ready to take it? First of all, who does the business belong to? We really teach this thing on stewardship, because Jemo, do you think when God did something with you, like what you do, he's going to finish with you? He intends to take that. You may come to an end. Moses, you're old. Meaning God is saying, you, Mezeka, your time is up. But I still have work to do, so bring Joshua on. God tends to still have an agenda with the business we're going with, even though one generation is getting old. Yeah, God still wants to go to the next generation and the next generation. And it's amazing that that understanding is not always with us, that there needs to be a plan. We were talking to someone just this week and on succession with Patrice, and they said, God, that us idea or two after we are gone. Don't worry, they'll be okay. And that structured, proper system set becomes an issue. Let me leave it there. I wanted to go further and further.
Yes. You know, Patrice, the whole subject of succession is a heavy discussion. In this part of the world, maybe, I don't know. But I've noticed, whether it's just, whether we are talking about business or even in church, you know, just having that perspective that we serve a generational God. I feel like sometimes we are so caught up with the aspect of ownership. It is mine and mine alone. You know, I die with it. No one else can have it. It's mine. I built it, self-made man, all that. How do we break out of that cycle? Because as believers, we need to think generationally.
For sure. You know, to your point, I think it begins first by us understanding the biblical mandate, right? God gave a vision to Abraham, but Abraham never got to the promised land. And then he passed on to Isaac. Isaac never got to the promised land.
Yes.
He passed it on to Jacob. Jacob was the manifestation of Israel, but he never got to the promised land. His boys, right, they never got to the promised land. Then came Moses. Moses took the people out of Egypt, going to the promised land, destination promised land. He never got to the promised. He got to look at it.
Yes. It
was Joshua that walked in. That's over 400 years later.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So it's a relay. So life and mission and calling, it's a relay. Every generation carries the baton to a certain point and pass it on. That's the first thing. Understanding that biblical reality. The second thing is understanding this. It is to our own self-aligned interests, because wealth is built, if you look at statistics, generationally. Wealth is built generationally, right? And so as I build my wealth, what I lay a floor that my children can build upon, my grandchildren built upon, and it goes on and on. There is no such thing as I made it my own.
Yeah.
Because you built on some kind of foundation, whether it was your parents or other people, you are standing on other people's shoulders, right? What we're asking is this, is that as a parent, be intentional, particularly as an African. You know, Jim, I'm an African born. I was born in Cameroon, grew up to 11 years old, and I went to America, and the rest is history. I have a burden for my people. I have a burden for Africa. And the only way that Africa is going to be competitive at the global stage is that we've got to think generationally. I'm very self-aware that the things that I'm building, that I'm not going to finish. My girls, Frank's children, Frank maybe, he probably going to outlive me. He may sit in my chair tomorrow. Yeah. Right? And so I'm laying a foundation for me, not just as an African, but also as a Christian, because I responded to the calling of God that filled a gap that I saw, and that gap was that the idea of a biblically integrated approach to business did not exist. There's no way I'm going to finish in my lifetime.
You know, let's talk a bit about mindset, because you said something there that's a bit intriguing. I find that on the African continent, when we talk generational, we believe more in generational curses. Generational curses are huge in this part of the world. There are people who've built ministries solely on generational curses. But I find that maybe in the West it's different. Maybe they look at it more of a generational blessing. How do we break that mindset, Patrice? Because that mindset holds a lot of people back. If it's generational, it's negative. We never think about a generational blessing. You know, that it will come from me to my children, to my children's children. We never even talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, we got to root it back to Scripture. You know, our Scripture's clear. Yes, the things that I do could affect my children.
Yes.
Negatively. However, the children that I do positively can go up to 1,000 years. In other words, there's more power in generational blessing than in generational curses.
Yes.
Right? So that's the first thing. But then the second thing is this, is that as a Christian, so the African must reject this cultural and traditional notion of curse. Because let me say this, even you're not a Christian, it doesn't help you. Right? Even you're not a Christian.
Yeah.
It doesn't help you. In other words, it is far better for you to have a positive attitude about your life and your forward looking, and reject this notion that somehow you're trapped by dogma, by something in the past. You don't have to be a Christian to see that as logically ineffective.
Yeah.
So from that, it's to our self-enlightened interest. Now, the other thing though, Jim, is fear. Because the Africans somehow have been trained to somehow be afraid of something from the ancestors that would somehow drag them down.
Yes.
And that attitude, first of all, it's a life in the pit of hell. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's human dogma. So we have to reject it. Now, some of those things came not by virtue of negative evil forces. Some of it came by just tradition and things that are, you know, I think there's a gift in recognizing the power of family and generations and so forth. But it becomes a curse when we start somehow thinking, because my parents did this, this is going to happen because my sister. That's a lot. So even on the human side, Jim, it's not helpful. And that's what's made Africa uncompetitive to the West.
Wow.
So just on a natural carnal level, it's uncompetitive. You know, Jim, attitude is everything.
Yeah.
Whether I believe or not.
Wow. Let's talk about what's happening today and tomorrow, Frank. What's happening today?
today we have that conversation. Patrice is going to take the conversation further on generational wealth. How do we build? In fact, we have corporate tables where we have first, second generations sitting to discuss, and we're going to be having that deep conversation today, 8 o'clock at Morven Peak, to just drive that conversation. Then tomorrow, we'll spend some time on couples in business.
Yeah.
And say, okay, so we're actually going to put Patrice and a lot of questions with Gina. Patrice's wife, is traveling with him here. We're also going to spend time 8 to 11 here at Morven Peak again, discussing what should I do, pay school fees or pay employees first? Which one is more important?
Yes.
And it depends. We can pay school fees but never pay it again. He is going to dive that deeper into that with Gina.
Okay.
In both cases, we will be offering a fantastic breakfast here, and also time to engage beyond that.
Okay. Today's event is beginning at 8?
At 8 as well.
Okay.
But maybe you just heard about this and you still like to be part of it.
Yes.
I think you guys will be able to share our number, and we're able to give you access into the Zoom, so you can join us by Zoom as well.
Okay.
And we will also be doing that tomorrow.
Great. For somebody who has never heard you speak, Patrice, this is the first time they're interacting with you on this platform, and they're thinking, so Patrice, why should I come and listen to you today and tomorrow? Why should I come?
Well, if you care about your family, if you care about your marriage, and if you either an entrepreneur or have a business and you want to be successful, I think you should come. Also, more important than that, if you care about Africa, about Kenya, if you're a Christian and you care about reflecting Christ in the marketplace and making sure that your life and ministry matters, I think that you should come. Lastly, if you want to be my beautiful wife, you should come. She'll be there with me.
I love that. If I come as we finish, what should I expect? Whet my appetite. Whet my appetite.
I believe that if you come to the Succession Exit, you expect to be challenged and inspired to begin a journey to ensuring that the name of your family outlives your lifetime. That you could be a potential next Kennedy or Rockefeller for Kenya or Africa. Or maybe just you lay the foundation that your children can carry on. So that's what you can expect. Be challenged and inspired to consider your legacy and how you can lay a foundation for those to come behind you. If you come to the couples in business, you can expect to be inspired and challenged to improve your marriage. Whatever state it is in, I guarantee you will leave the meeting moving your marriage further on the dial. If you are we're going to talk about the seasons of marriage.
Yes.
And so whatever season you're in, we're going to talk about, we have about 10 seasons. And those seasons begins with dating all the way to widowhood. And in the process, there's also the divorce that you got to avoid. As we walk you through those seasons, whatever season that you're in, we believe that by coming, it will enhance your fulfillment in that season as you prepare to move to the next season.
Okay. Frank, do you have a website that people can connect with for people who want to find out more about the Nehemiah project? Is there a website they can log on to?
Yes, we have our website is www.nehemiahecommunity.com/Kenya. And even without the /Kenya, you will find our global website. But if you want to go and see some examples of what this biblical entrepreneurship looks like, get a definition of it, stories about people who've been through it, you'll get it there.
Okay, great. As we finish, Patrice, I know you're going for a safari.
I am.
I know you're excited about going to a safari. Have you ever been to a safari before?
only one time, and it just moved me so much that I look forward to going back.
What are you expecting to see this time round?
I hope I can, I love lions, and there's just a beautiful animal, just reflect a conquering spirit and a grace that is powerful. I hope to see some lions and some prides.
Yes. Great. Gentlemen, it's been an honor hosting you. Thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for that lovely information. Now, for those who are listening in today, if you want more details, maybe you want to hook up and be a part of the session today and tomorrow, this is a number you can call. You can get all the details. 0797 924434. 0797 924434. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I'm out of time for today. Thank you for being a part of the show this morning.
This and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.